do senators actually meet with their constituencies? Because there are those who think that they never see that happening. You're supposed to.
Well, some senators, I meet with my constituency. Every quarter, I have a consultative meeting with all the members of my constituency. Every fortnight, I go home and I go to my office, the senatorial office in Aba, and people continue to come to you. The governor calls us for meetings. So when matters that concern the state is, and the whole National Assembly caucus, every state has a National Assembly caucus made up of those in the House of Reps and those in the Senate. Every zone, geopolitical zone, has a caucus, and we all meet. And as you see that all these meetings, because what does a politician do, really? Is meetings and meetings and meetings to hash out all this.
Those are the top. Is there a way that they go down?
Yeah, but we go down. That's what I'm saying. That
and just pick people who have issues and who have very good points.
Any senator that does not meet with his constituents is running a very big risk, because he's going to come up in front of these same constituents in 4 years' time.
When you
and at that point, they will now tell him, "We never saw you."
When you meet with your constituents,
yes,
what do you discuss in your meetings?
What we do really is that the constituents come to you. You give them an account of what you have been doing the past years, the past few months, the past 1 year, and so forth. You bring out the budget. You say, "This is what I have been able to put in the budget for you. I'm now going to be pushing the executive to do that." Then they will make a response, and most of the time they tell you, "This is what we want." For example, all the last times I've always been at home to talk to my constituents, they always say one thing: we want state creation. Dibo, shortchanged in this Nigeria. So, and anytime you talk about it, that is one fundamental thing that they also. So that's why when we come to the Senate and they talk about state creation, we always say that there must be.
But then, let's talk about the state creation. When you talk about creating states,
yes,
if you create more states, what happens to the issues of funding? What happens to the issues of development? Would there be a difference?
Well, the point really is this. What do the people want? How will you go about it? That is the next thing.
Abaribe,
yes.
Before now, Nigeria, we were in regions before now, south,
yes,
east, south, and all that. We had the different regions.
Yes.
And there are those who believe that there was more development when we were in regions, and we had fewer states. Even when we had the 19 states, we had fewer states. There was more development then than there is now. So what's with the clamor for more states? If we had more development when we had fewer states than we have now, that we have like 36 states.
I think fundamentally there's one basic that you haven't looked at, and that is what I think is the basic reason for clamor for more states. That is a sense of fairness. I assume that if there's a sense of fairness in what everybody is doing at every level, there will be less clamor. But once people have the perceived feeling that they are not being well served at the point at where they are, what now comes out will now be, if we're not being served where we are, there must be something that we can do. And the next thing is to look at that. Secondly, I do not agree that there was more development when we had regions. That's not supported by facts. You actually look at what we have today. Part of the problems we have today is the unusual explosion of almost everything caused, of course, by development, population, and also state creation. There's no state that doesn't have a university, for example. There's no state that doesn't have a polytechnic. There's no state that doesn't have a college of education.
Those universities and polytechnics are not properly funded.
Well, that is a matter for another debate. What do you do and how do you prioritize spending when you is the chief executive of an entity?
All right.
Well, another contentious issue is this talk, because the way you highlighted the issue of state INEC, is it almost similar with the talk or the quest for state police?
Well, that comes in.
Because it's part of the agenda.
Part of the agenda also is that there are demands on the National Assembly to find a way of dealing with the insecurity problem, and that one of the ways that they think that the insecurity problem should be to amend the constitution to be able to allow for state police. Those are the what we said, that all the things that people have put on the table for us to discuss, and we think that every part of Nigeria and everybody in Nigeria and every stakeholder ought to actually do this debate and be part of making sure that we can make the place better.
We had posed this question to our previous guest, but perhaps it's more appropriate for you, Senator, because there were those who wonder, because the laws they have now, terrorism, the anti-terrorism bill, is just a recent one. So how come the Senate or the National Assembly didn't deem it fit, if they did, it didn't come until recently, to come up with this anti-terrorism bill, maybe as far back as 2007, 4 or 2, as it were?
Well, you know, what you do sometimes is to react to situations that were not there before. You don't, but under our laws, under the existing laws, there must be laws that you could use to deal with terrorism. You know, we had all manners of law. The problem was that some of the penalties were not designed to, you know, prevent actions of that nature. So, and then once we now had this, you know, quickening of what's going on around the world, from Al-Qaeda, the World Trade Center bombing, and so forth, almost every country now had to revise its laws to make sure that you meet these new challenges. So it's not actually that, you know, they forgot or something like that. I think that the anti-terrorism was passed in the last Senate.
All right. Okay. Senator Abaribe, we have some tweets coming in here from people that are wanting to ask you questions. But let me, a few days ago, there was a debate on the floor, and one of your colleagues spoke, and he was asked to withdraw a statement he made about fat salaries. He was asked to, people perceive that he was asked to withdraw that statement. Now, the question here from Nish Sumonu says, why is it that the Senate or the House of the legislators cannot reduce their salaries to the bearable minimum?
But the problem really also is what I said, that there are some statements that have been made in the public that are misleading. The matter of salaries, I can tell you what I earn, so you can clear the air. I earn $1 million a month. After deductions of tax and car loan, I earn about 600,000. That is my salary. You can judge for yourself whether it is fat or maybe I'm earning less than you.
But we don't know what
we don't know what the allowances are.
No, in that salary is also embedded the allowances. Let me tell you where the problem is coming from. The problem comes from the fact that a senator, like I've come here now, I have to fly from Abuja, I have to stay in the hotel and then come here early this morning. That means that there's some fund that I have to use. That fund is called the overhead fund. Overhead costs, running costs, whatever. It's a bulk sum that is in the National Assembly. What has always happened is that rather than people know that the National Assembly, 500 members, more than 2,000 staff, running on gensets, all kinds of things, running police station, all manners of things. Right inside there's a small city on its own. So it has an overhead that you use to run all those services, just like you have overhead to run this, your studio. Now somebody wakes up and now takes that amount and now divides it by the number, by number 500. I said that is what each or every one of them is taking. That is not true. And each of those running costs is accounted for, because like I have come here now, when I go back, I will take the ticket, the hotel bill and everything and use it to retire the advance that I got. Now, what people ought to actually ask is, what do you use as the running cost of a minister? What do you use as the running cost of the central bank governor? What do you use the running cost of the directors in the central bank, the permanent secretary, the judges, and all that? There is a focus on the National Assembly, and we know the reason why. It's not just here. It's a worldwide phenomenon. I was reading Time magazine of last week, and somebody actually wrote there that why are the politicians, that is referring to United States politicians now, why are they not concerned about us? They're only concerned about how they're going to win the next election. So this is not something that is new. And the reason also, I think, is because what we do is an intangible. I hope you get me. It's an intangible. We make law. Now, the man on the street, when he sees a governor put one block on top of the other and do a building, he can point to it and say, yes, that is what the governor has done. Then he looks at the legislator, okay, so he's there. Why is he not doing the same thing? There's a conflict. There's a misunderstanding of the role of the legislator vis-a-vis the role of the man who is in the executive. And it is all this mishmash and all this misunderstanding that leads to the fact that if I now say, we passed the anti-terrorism bill, I should take credit for it. For the man on the street, what does that mean to him? What he wants is, I need to have a good road to ply on. I need to have, potable water to drink. I need to have good health services if I go there. And therefore, why are these people sitting, you understand, just talking when we can't see the block that they're putting on top of the other?